How did you get? I mean, you look like you were on track for writing, and then all of a sudden, you're over there doing law, and now you're back to doing writing. What was that journey like?
That was really interesting. So, uh, I'm wondering how much people want to know. That I had an experience when I was 13, where I participated in a court case, and it really touched me, and like it was a deep experience, and I decided that I should probably go be a lawyer. And I made that decision then, and I just kind of went with that. And then when I loved my work, I got to write a lot, which was awesome, working at the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, and that was fun. But it didn't it didn't fulfill certain parts, and it was all about really bad stuff. By the time you're calling lawyers in, things have gone pretty badly, especially in criminal law. And so I was doing creative writing on the side, but then when my son was born, and I couldn't meld those two worlds anymore. Then I was just writing on my own, and then Alyssa had the idea for starting writership, and so that just it was like, it was, what do I want to say? It's like a Saint Bernard living in Austin, Texas in July, and suddenly he gets to move to the Arctic, and he's so happy because he's found his element.
So it came just at the right time then.
Yes, yes. Save me.
No, it is though. I mean, like when you can actually find what you want. For me, that epiphany moment was when I was in Iraq. And coming back from this super crazy daily experience in a war zone to going back to school, and that's just like completely stopping everything and then turning back to writing, because it was the one thing that I really could feel passionate about and could see how story really helps people, and they can help them get through things, they help them sort out their ideas, and it can also just be a lot of fun. So yeah, I totally get that, like when you actually find what it is that you care about, yeah, and things just start to click.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I always found that it's sort of you can go off in one direction and you think, you'll get stuck, or it just seems more draining than it should be, and you're like, man, why am I finding this is taking so much out of me? And then when you start doing something that maybe you're meant to do, and it just comes so easily, and you think, oh, so it wasn't just because I just found everything difficult or unenjoyable. It's that I wasn't really doing the right thing. And yeah, I think it's really amazing to find that.
Yeah.
So now you've found that right thing, and we're talking about development editing on the show today. So let's say someone approaches you with it. What does that look like? What are you diving in and doing with an author right away on their work?
Right. So I'm first looking at the 30,000 foot level of what's the big structure of the story. And you guys talked about that in the when you did that series on the different.
The 7 basic plots.
Yeah,
yes.
we don't like to talk about
We actually have a support group where we go to. It's a very traumatic experience. Those 7 shows.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, because I really enjoyed them. But so you're just looking at the very big structure of the whole story, and so and how that looks like, that's going to depend on what the author wants to do with the book. What are they aiming for? Who are they trying to reach? And all of that is actually baked into the bigger structure and the smaller structure of. So I'm a big fan of the Story Grid by Sean Coyne, and he talks about how the big structure, it has that you have the the beginning hook, the middle build, and the ending payoff. So those are the three big things, and that you have those within each act as well as each sequence of scenes and in each scene. And so the whole thing is kind of like a fractal, where the bigger structure it, kind of mirrors the smaller structure. And so whatever is more challenging or needs more work, you can focus on the one that's going well and then use that, sort of extrapolate out. And so I could talk about structure all day. I'm kind of obsessed with it.
I love structure too. It's so much fun to play in, and I think I'm not a fan of the person who sits down and just writes something and doesn't know where it's going. Like, I really like to be able to see how things fit together. So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I think the worry is, of course, that it'll feel formulaic. But in my experience, you have the same story told over and over again. You're just adding different elements and doing it a little differently. There was one time in college where I watched 3 movies all in a weekend, and it was Hamlet. No. Yeah, it was Hamlet, it was Strange Brew, and it was Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. And it was like, after watching those 3 movies, I realized they were all the same movie. Like, I mean, like that Strange Brew, strangely enough. I don't know, Peter, are you familiar with Strange Brew?
I'm not. No, I've not heard of that.
It's a movie with from the 80s, I think, late 80s, where you have these 2 Canadian guys who are they drink a lot of beer and stuff, and they're kind of silly, almost like Beavis and Butthead, which is another too many references. But basically, you had these 3 movies that were very different, but they were all telling the same story, and it was like, oh wow, like light bulb moment in that it's all the same story, really, and it's what we bring to it and how we do it and the other choices that we make. And then the other thing I think about structure and why it's not formulaic is how structure actually gives you great freedom. You have these kind of strong constraints, but within it you have lots of room to roam and to make your story your own.
Thank you for listening, and come back next week for more. Please visit thebookeditorshow.com for show notes, links to guests, books and extras, and for information on how to be a guest on the show.